Last week, the Trump administration revoked the security clearance of former CIA Director John Brennan. What kind of secrets are you actually privy to from this administration? All the 11 herbs and spices from KFC? The secret ingredient that makes Diet Coke taste like chalk? Best golf course locker room for a golden shower from a Russian escort? Like everybody doesn't know it's PGA West in La Quinta.
I knew that. Jimmy Buffett is opening new Margaritaville-themed retirement communities in beachy locales. It's perfect for anybody who likes to drink Metamucil with salt on the rim.
In an appearance on Meet the Press yesterday, Rudy Giuliani said Mr. Trump should not testify to the Russia probe as he might be trapped into perjury. Rudy then disputed host Chuck Todd's remark that truth is truth by pointing out that truth isn't truth. Now you can see why Trump likes Rudy so much. They both speak the same language, the language of guys who have gotten caught cheating on their wives.
President Trump referred to the lawyers working with special counsel Robert Mueller as thugs. In response, they donned suit coats that all read straight out of Georgetown.
Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh suggested that attorneys preparing to question President Bill Clinton in 1998 see graphic details about the president's sexual relationship with Monica Lewinsky. Well, now we know who's going to be sitting next to Clarence Thomas on the bench.
ESPN announced they will no longer broadcast the national anthem during Monday Night Football. It actually has nothing to do with kneeling. It's because legally, the national anthem is now the property of Tyler Perry.
The film Crazy Rich Asians was the #1 film last week, making $34 million since its opening last Wednesday. President Trump has not seen it because he prefers his films with crazy Asians in the title to be found on YouPorn.
Los Angeles' transit authority plans to install body scanners on rails and buses in an effort to thwart terrorism attacks. But to make the body scanners more palatable to Angelinos, they will also align your chakras.
The Trump administration is expected to propose regulations that give states broad authority to determine how to restrict greenhouse gas emissions from coal-fired power plants. If you're worried about the health concerns for the employees, they won't be able to breathe in all that pollution using their tiny elementary school dropout lungs.
Aww. 71 people in Connecticut are recovering after they overdosed on synthetic marijuana. They weren't aware that synthetic marijuana becomes dangerous when combined with yacht rock.
And finally, the MTV Video Music Awards will be held tonight at Radio City Music Hall in New York. To break that down for you, a channel that doesn't play videos or music will give out awards for achievements of things you watch and listen to on your iPhone or maybe even your watch. The Trump Report starts now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
You know, I don't know about you, but I love a parade. But you know who doesn't love a parade anymore? President Trump. Welcome to the Trump Report. I'm Christian Bladt, joined, as always, by Tamra Brown.
Hello.
It's a little lean skeleton crew staff again today, but I think next week we've got 5 people that want to be on.
Oh,
so
yeah?
It's just whoever's going to be.
Any big names? Any heavy hitters?
Chelsea Galicia, Scott Moore, and Brooke Soliz. So, and me. I mean, come on. But anyway, thanks to everybody for joining us here. There's a lot to talk about, and because it's the title of the episode, we should start with the canceled, disappointing to someone, I'm sure, the canceled military parade that President Trump said he was going to have. In fact, he promised it to us, and he said that it was because it was going to cost too much, that the city of D.C. was really trying to fleece them. Apparently, according to the latest reports today, he had actually never gotten a quote on the price for what it would cost to do this military parade. I'm sure it's very high, but he didn't actually get the price. Pentagon never turned it over, which is when you know how popular somebody is in government, when, you know, the various agencies they're in charge of are very quick to point out, like, oh, no, we never talked to him. So this can only mean one thing, Tamara. Donald Trump hates America. That's the only reason he doesn't want to have this parade,
or at least the military.
Well, yeah, he hates the military.
This
you're
parade
right.
was to celebrate the military
You're
and
right.
our veterans, and to cancel it is a disgrace to the flag. It is a disgrace to our proud men and women who serve this country. I don't see any other.
There's really no explanation. The one you gave is the best explanation, but
I think the flag is who suffers the most from this. I heard an interview with the woman who is the head of Women for Trump, and I've also heard this sentiment with many Trump supporters is that obviously supporting and honoring our veterans is the purpose of this parade, and I believe that is a nonpartisan issue. We are all in agreement that we should honor and support our military and our veterans. But how about we do so in ways that actually benefit them rather than, say, staging a musical?
I mean, apart from putting on the Music Man in the streets, maybe take that money and, I don't know, give them health care?
Yeah. Christian.
I know.
You're so wacky.
I know that. But, they've sacrificed for our country, some very literally, some have sacrificed their body, some their lives. So, that would be nice. But no, we were going to get a parade. And now we get no parade. Let us know how disappointed you are in the chat that the parade's not happening. I'm so sorry. For a lot of reasons, I'm sorry that Chelsea's not here today. But I know she was counting on that parade. I think she was very excited about the parade.
She told me yesterday she had her parade outfit all picked out.
Oh, she would have had such a nice hat. Anyway, let us know what you think about that. One of the other big stories, of course, is President Trump revoking former CIA Director John Brennan's security clearance. And done for very political reasons. And, hey, when you're the president, you do get to do things for whatever reason you want sometimes. And this is the sort of thing that isn't, there's no law against this. It's just sort of like, might be helpful. Might be worth asking the intelligence community how they feel about it. But I don't think he has a good relationship. Maybe I'm going out on a limb.
With the intelligence community?
That President Trump doesn't have a great relationship.
Or does he not have a great relationship with intelligence? Is that what you're saying?
I was not saying that. You know what? That sounds like fake news, but I'm not going to comment. I'll let the audience decide.
We at the Trump Report would like to go on record that we are not saying President Trump has a negative relationship with intelligence. Only intelligence agencies. I don't know about you, but I'm having a difficult time wrapping my head around who is his main target at the moment, because just when I'm understanding who John Brennan was, like Trump himself said, we didn't know who he was. His name is now brought into the, Trump said he has actually given him a platform because nobody knew who he was. And now this man is...
just like he did on Celebrity Apprentice.
Exactly.
He's making people household names.
But within the last, 48 hours now, he's turned his ire to Bruce Orr. Is that his name?
It is indeed, yes.
So it's like, it's just so hard to keep up with. I need Trump's burn book. I don't know who I'm supposed to hate right now.
I mean, honestly, it starts with Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, that's never going to change.
She's the alpha and the omega.
Yeah, and then next would be Hillary, for sure.
Always.
Yeah, and then, after that, it's a lot of that's like 1 and 1A, and everybody else is kind of incidental. He also said he didn't directly say to him, but he's saying through the media that John Brennan, go ahead and sue me. And I don't know that John Brennan's that invested in this. He's just like, I might be able to help and give some insight to people, but good luck in deciphering the intel in Zaire. Just picked somewhere that the intel's probably not that easy to decipher.
There's a lot of red tape over Zaire.
You're telling me. And then also we had retired Navy Special Ops Commander William McRaven, who is not a household name, but supervised the raid that killed Osama bin Laden. So he's, I guess, got something on his resume. Whatever. He starts every conversation with that. Hey, what were you doing in April 2011? Oh, that's really interesting. Let me tell you what I was doing.
Yeah, I'm actually not caught up on The Wire because I was busy capturing.
He said, revoke my clearance too. And I think that's a smart move because that's the way to make sure your clearance doesn't get revoked, is to say, go ahead, Trump, do it. You're
double dog dare.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely that is definitely a double dog dare situation. Where do you think this ends, Tamra? Anywhere, or does it just Are we going to have our security clearances revoked? And we don't even have them, but we can definitely get them revoked.
Oh, you don't? I mean,
oh, you do?
I received AfterBuzz TV security clearance.
Well, that makes me sad.
Wow.
I've been here for like 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's the only way that I get invited to Snooki's pool parties.
Oh,
that
man.
AfterBuzz TV.
Well, you do
security
have
clearance.
to sign a lot of releases to get to Snooki's.
Where will this end? The abolishment of the CIA, I suppose.
Well, look, there's worse things that we could have than that. Good to see everybody in the chat. Storage Yard resident, God bless you. You never miss a show. And our #1 fan, William Winters, never misses an episode as well. They're really jockeying back and forth. Storage Yard resident and William Winters. And always good to hear from everybody who's watching us. I don't know. I mean, I think he's always got lists of people who have wronged him in various ways, and it always seems like Melania's near the top of that list. But I don't know. I guess.
But it's a very pliant list because somebody is a great guy one day, as we know, and then the next day.
I want to know when it happens the other
one.
way, when somebody is like such a hack and a terrible.
Let's think for a second. Is there anybody that was an enemy and then?
I mean, Rudy Giuliani wasn't really an enemy. You know, he was a little bit on the outs, but now he's in the inner circle. You know, because I guess because he wants, you know, legal advice like your grandfather would give you from the old folks' home. You know, that's basically what we get out of Rudy at this point. I don't know. I think that
he's been allowed to use the White House tanning bed. He's gotten access.
It's good that he has. Rudy's looking good, don't you think? He looked fit yesterday on.
He does a good job. I'm at least impressed with. Sean Spicer, it was so easy, as we all know, to trap him in an uncomfortable situation where he would just be kind of going, I don't, well, you know, he's trying. But with Giuliani, regardless of whether it logically makes sense what he says, he does a great job of standing his ground. Truth is not truth. You
right,
know?
And we're gonna look at that in a minute.
Not to jump ahead, but
no,
like
we're gonna get to it. We're gonna actually show that. We're gonna watch the clip. I actually pulled the clip for once because this one is, you know, it's sort of like, I don't know. It's like going to see your favorite band and they don't play their hit.
That you guys have not delayed the interviewing. Delayed the negotiations.
Yeah, each time by 3 or 4 days so we could write a letter in response. They have taken 2 to 3 weeks to get back to us. So what I have to tell you is, look, I'm not going to be rushed into having him testify so that he gets trapped into perjury. And when you tell me that, you know, he should testify because he's going to tell the truth and he shouldn't worry, well, that's so silly because it's somebody's version of the truth, not the truth. He didn't have a conversation.
Truth is
about,
truth. I don't mean to go like.
No, it isn't truth. Truth isn't truth. The President of the United States says, I didn't.
Truth isn't truth. Mr. Mayor, do you realize what
No.
This is going to become a bad meme.
Don't do this to me.
Don't do truth is
Or a great meme.
Donald Trump says, I didn't talk about Flynn with Comey. Comey says, you did talk about it. So tell me what the truth is.
Don McGahn might
If
know.
you're such a genius, Don McGahn doesn't know. If that's the situation, they have 2 pieces of evidence. Trump says, I didn't tell him, and the other guy says that he did say it. Which is the truth? And maybe you know.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the money show. That's the free
gist
bird
of it.
of the clip, and you know, not really a big Chuck Todd guy. Never have been. But I think that he handled it the only way he could. He put his hand on his head and just shook his head because he's like, truth isn't truth. He knew that this was going to be a meme. I mean, I feel like as he was saying it, people were already turning it into a meme.
I think we're reminded of when Kellyanne Conway said sometimes there are alternative facts.
Yeah.
And also when President Trump himself said the things that you are seeing and hearing are not what's happening. So this has sort of been standard policy to be like, what is truth? Truth is facts are not facts. Truth is not truth. What can you believe? I mean, that is how they are sustaining their base, is by making everyone confused, I guess.
And Rudy, of course, attempted to clarify, and what he said today was that his statement was not meant as a pontification on moral theology, but one referring to the situation where two people make precisely contradictory statements, the classic he said, she said puzzle. Sometimes,
does it have to do with
sometimes further inquiry can reveal the truth, other times it doesn't. Tweeted Giuliani, because that is how official statements do get released in Washington these days. And you feel like it's better to have him do it on Twitter than to, be doing it in an interview, because it seems like one of those things where while he's talking, he's just like, no, ignore the bullshit I'm giving you right now, because the really big bullshit's about to come out of my mouth. I'm just trying to move past it, because I don't even think he's thinking when he says sometimes truth isn't truth. He's just like, no, let me get to this point. This is what I really want to say. He's just like trying to shut him up. And I really don't understand how Rudy is still out front, and as he can definitely be involved in legal policy. It has to be because he's a star. He was New York's mayor. He was considered America's mayor at one point, very briefly. He ran for president until he got a headache. But I guess that's why he's out there.
Look, here's the thing, is that in this administration, who are the stars of this administration? Right now, Rudy Giuliani, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Kellyanne Conway, all of these people have a commonality, which is that it does not matter that what they're saying makes no verbal sense. It's like, listen, don't listen to what I'm saying, just hear what I'm saying. It's like you're just going to agree with my passion and fury rather than the meaning of what I'm actually saying, what is actually coming out of my mouth. That is how this administration communicates, right?
I mean, yes, it's it's all packaged in however they feel like it's easiest to digest. It's a series of bitter pills that's just like, oh, just come on already. You were talking about Sean Spicer before. And, I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I know people hate her, but she is so good at her job. It is so, what her job is, I can't think of White House.
Nobody could replace her.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think back to White House press secretaries, even like some fairly well-known guy like Tony Snow. Nobody handled it like she did. It's like it's like
she's the Serena Williams of deflecting reasonable questions.
Yeah,
she just volleys it right back.
And when she gets to a certain point where it's like, no, I can't tell you he never said the N-word. I'm not with him all the time. It's like there's a certain point. I feel like Sean Spicer would have bungled that answer.
He would have cried. That would have brought him to tears. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, thankfully, I don't know if you know this, she does not have tear ducts. She's incapable.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's incapable of human producing tears.
Well, there hasn't been anything for her to cry about, I mean, getting kicked out of that restaurant, I hear it was only 3 stars anyway. So, I mean, honestly, she could have done better.
But she's so good at her job. Rudy is doing a great job. I bet I cannot see what could possibly happen until Rudy turns on, until President Trump does something that puts a bee in Rudy's bonnet and he starts to, turn against some policy or try to say, yeah, should he have to say, President Trump shouldn't have said this? I have a feeling the day will come that he's going to have to say, yes, I can agree, the president shouldn't have said that. And when that happens, that is when Trump is going to have to start he's going to start disparaging Rudy Giuliani, and he's going to start the process of letting him go. And it's like, these are the people that you need in your corner. I thought we still had the clip up.
No,
we
it's
need
all right.
the people that you need in your corner that are just so unabashedly just standing up for you passionately, thoroughly,
Yeah, I think it makes me wonder, is there ever a chance that Chris Christie is going to kind of come back around? Is he ever going to be back in the president's good graces? Because, he and Rudy, there was a point during the campaign where it was like, oh my God, one of these guys is going to be attorney general. And Well, I don't know what the other one would be. Assistant Attorney General. I don't know. But you expected that they both seemed like they were primed for big roles in the campaign, and they both ended up on the outs. Now Rudy's back. I'm still waiting for Chris Christie. You know, I saw he was on. The one on ABC is called This Week with George Stephanopoulos. And so he was commenting on there, and I'm like, wait a minute. Why aren't you in the White House, you know, making decisions or at least, you know, making excuses for the people who do make decisions?
Well, I guess that would come down to, in my opinion, what does Chris Christie want? Like, is there a career move? Is there a stepping stone that he's trying to? Because it would have to be a matter of, because I don't think that he likes Trump or agrees with him. Mm-hmm. But that's not to say that, you know, they couldn't strike a deal. Hey, I'll put you in line for this position should he want to step in as secretary of something. Food and Drug Administration. I don't know. So what I'm saying is, if there is something that Chris Christie has his eye on career-wise that Trump is able to provide, that's the only scenario where he's going to start saying things in his favor.
Yeah, I mean, posing the question, what does Chris Christie want? I believe it alternates between bacon and gravy, depending. Yeah, come on, you know. I mean, look, I'm right there with him. You know, it's if I could get both. If tonight I have bacon with some gravy on it, no, that's going to be a good night for me.
Wasn't yesterday National Bacon Day?
What?
I think
There's always every day is a National something day, but I didn't realize that. You'd think that I would have known. Tamra, you have to make sure I know these things before they happen.
I apologize.
So now I have to have a belated. Well, you know, today can be National Bacon Day (observed). Mm-hmm. Anyway, and
Canadians.
if you're in the chat,
National Bacon Day.
you're in the chat, let us know how you celebrated National Bacon Day. President Trump is accusing Mueller's team of midterm meddling, and this idea that this investigation needs to be wrapped up before the midterms. I think we even talked about this last week. Rudy Giuliani picked like after Labor Day. You know, it needs to be done by then. But I think they're not close to it, as Scott Moore, who is usually on this panel, but he's actually in Alaska today. He was going to be here today, and as he has pointed out, these things take a long time. You know, and Watergate took a long time. And that was just sort of like one issue that they were dealing with the whole time. So I think that, you know, it's, I guess if you're at the point, if you're really worried about it, you should say, well, I guess you need to keep on doing the investigation past November 8th or whatever election day is. You know, so now they should be pushing for, don't wrap it up quickly. Let's let it go until January. Because getting it wrapped up quickly, I guess they think that, like, okay, well, they're going to, you know, not really be able to do as comprehensive of an investigation. I just feel like Robert Mueller's like, I kind of know. I've got all the stuff that I need. I'm in no rush to get it out there. You know, I will often use the comparison here. It's like a Kanye album. It will come out when he wants it to, you know, not because somebody else tells him. It's not because Kim wants it to come out.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I foresee this going way past the midterm elections. So I don't think it will actually interfere. What do you think, Tamra?
I mean, one could even argue that, let's not forget that Mueller and his team are Republican. So maybe they're withholding information because what they have could be extremely detrimental to the Republican Party, and they're holding on to it to lessen the blow that would happen were it released before the midterm elections. I mean, that's a possibility. You know, like, I don't understand why why President Trump thinks that this is the investigation is hurting his party when it's being conducted by his party. So again, it just doesn't make sense.
There's so many things that don't make sense, but yeah, this would be one of them. I don't know. Let us know what you think in the chat. If you feel, you know, there may be a few Trump fans in the chat that tell us why you feel like it needs to be wrapped up. It's also like, you know, Labor Day is still pretty far away from Election Day. You know, I mean, that, you know, if you know, November 1st, that's really close. But I don't know. I think that this will go on into Mike Pence's second term. No, I don't think so.
By the way, I saw I should have sent it in to you and Marissa, but sorry, I saw a headline. It was from a clipping of President Nixon when the Watergate investigation began, and the headline of the newspaper said something like, "This is ridiculous. President Nixon is saying the investigation is nonsense and should be stopped." And I was actually really surprised because I didn't realize that he would speak about it in such a, I thought every time a president previously has been investigated, they have basically complied and have just been like, look, due course, we'll see what is, I did nothing wrong. Feel free to investigate me. Due process will run its course. So.
In that instance, he hadn't done anything wrong right up until the point where he lied about it. So actually, if he had cooperated, we may never have gotten the gift of Gerald Ford as president, and maybe Chevy Chase wouldn't be famous. Just imagine that alternative world where that never happened.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
A world without pratfalls? No, thank you.
A world without Fletch? Come on. That actually does make me a little sad. Earlier today, President Trump he praised some federal agents, and I only just saw this one. But
Christian's giggling. This will be good.
Because he praised the Latino border agent, and he said he speaks perfect English.
Oh, no.
And it's just, look, to me, these aren't like it's a lot of little things with President Trump. This isn't, look, at this point, this can't be a deal breaker for anybody who was on board. Anybody who's on the Trump train
Sure.
is not selling their ticket now because of this.
Yes.
But you just sometimes feel like, is there anybody like in his ear like, I don't think you should. There's no one.
It comes out to even if there was, they can't stop those kinds of things. He has no filter. It comes out at its own will, and even if he had that person there, yeah. Ooh, nothing you can do about those kinds of things.
Yeah. And by the way, his English is excellent. No, I actually don't know anything about it. But
it's
he
far superior to our commander-in-chief.
He again warned us against the phony blue wave of Democratic wins, which he says will mean crime and open borders, not good. This is a direct quote.
Not
quote, crime and open borders, not good. This isn't a tweet. This is him. On Twitter, sometimes you have to clip what you're saying because of the limitations on characters. But just imagine if Twitter was still only 140 characters. Well, I guess Trump would tweet twice as much. I was going to pose a question that just had a silly, obvious answer. But I don't know. I mean, I was reading earlier today, Steve Bannon is sort of warning Republicans, like, you really have to get behind the president or Democrats could pick up 25, 30 seats in the House. And that number sounds a little high, which is, I think, why Steve Bannon is throwing that number out there, because, this might be the first time he's trying to scare people into doing something with, with some scare tactics. But do you think anywhere in President Trump's head that he thinks that people will go to the polls in November and any kind of majority will vote against him? I think, I personally, I don't think he sees the world that way. I don't think he thinks there's that many people. I think he believes that there's fake news, that I almost said Trump's up all these things, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right. I agree that he thinks that he is definitely in favor, and if numbers show otherwise, then that's fake and false. And yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that.
And it's funny because I saw a story today, and this is from NPR, so obviously in some language that stands for fake news. Does
it though? Like, I mean,
as far as I'm concerned, no. But
no. I mean, I don't think even people who, everybody who refuses, thinks that CNN is just complete fable. I think most people agree that NPR is reputable.
Well,
Republicans.
I think that it is seen as leaning at best left of center. I mean, I think that there are opinion shows. I think that there are news shows. You would be right. It's you know, there was a time where, believe it or not, Fox News had news shows that, you know, weren't slanted as much as they are, you know. But people would always point to Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly and those things. It's like, well, yeah, because those aren't their news shows. And I think NPR has a handful of shows that are much more opinionated. I think that they at least attempt to, you know, give sort of unbiased, unfiltered news. But I mean, people feel like the New York Times is very biased, which, you know, there are probably issues where there is a bias, you know. Anything about people still subscribing to newspapers, maybe they're biased towards that. But I don't know. I don't think that people are on the right are comfortable with NPR. Knowing as many as I do, that's not something, you know, they don't think PBS should get money. And I don't think that
it's difficult. It would be difficult, I would imagine, to be a conservative who is aware that Fox News is unfair and untruthful journalism. So, because you're limited to your major outlets then, because if you don't trust CNN, obviously you don't trust MSNBC. You know that even though Fox News tells you what you want to hear, it's unreliable. So you don't have a lot of options there. So I would just think that NPR would probably be one of the better options to lean on.
But I mean, I think that.
But I know what you're saying.
That, like they just don't feel like they're getting an unbiased.
Yeah.
You know, and look, if you're a conservative, may I suggest Al Jazeera English? I think that's an outlet that you would really enjoy.
Yeah. BBC.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what I like about the BBC is that you just get a very different perspective on everything. You know, now everybody hates Trump around the world, but you know, you'll watch them cover the same story that you might have seen on American news, and you're like, huh. They sure just saw that differently than we did, you know. But what I was talking about, the story that I saw on NPR, it is a story that I think, I don't know, I feel like I've seen it every week. As the president attacks people on Twitter, Melania Trump speaks out against cyberbullying. I had to look, and I'm like, is this an old link? No, this happens every week. So are these stories just always just written and ready to go? You know, it's like there are people who work for various media outlets where you're writing obituaries for people who, you know, have a cough and might die at some point soon. So, you know, you're just ready to go. And I think that, are they ready for when he's bullying
the
people?
that print up the Super Bowl jerseys for both sides. Oh, yeah. Just ready, just in case.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that they're just always there with this, right? I mean, they're just always ready with the story. But what I had seen, you know, sort of in addition to that, is Melania Trump, the First Lady. She's going to have a big solo international trip. She's going to Africa. And I don't know, I was surprised because sometimes I get the feeling, I don't know about you, Tamra, I get the feeling she's not into the whole First Lady thing.
No.
But,
you know, now that you mention it.
And it, you know, and there are many people, including Omarosa, who I'm going to, you know, immediately qualify and say, you know, not the best source for your information. You want to talk about fake news. But she said that, you know, Melania does a lot of things that are very calculated to basically hurt the Donald. So do you think that's why she's going to shithole countries, basically? I mean, and I'm just saying that I don't think Africa shitholes countries, but the two that he referenced were indeed in Africa. So do you think she's just going like, well, where does he not want me to go?
That could very well be true. What is her purpose of visiting? Is it for a specific cause? Is it like AIDS awareness, or is it any sort of?
It's to sort of see the different levels of suffering that children experience around the world. You know, because that sort of seems to be her initiative. You know, the bullying is something that gets pointed to a lot. That is part of the larger thing. You know, before she had that jacket on, and you know, she was meeting with children, you know, at the detention camps, and somebody got really mad for whatever I called them the last time. So now I don't know what to call them. So let's call them, you know, not fun sleepaway camps. But so anyway, so those are the issues that she tends to deal with. So that's why she's.
What did you call them?
I don't remember, but people were very upset because I wasn't firm enough in what I called them, you know. But anyway, so I don't know. That seems to be why she would take a trip like this, don't you think?
Well, I would suspect that she yeah, I agree. This is not something it's not at the top of her lists of travel destinations, certainly, I'm sure. And I'm sure she will retaliate in Melania fashion by, she can't do the jacket trick. She's
done that,
so she's done that. So
do you think she could get something painted on her eyelids and then just sort of have her eyes closed in a photograph?
You know what? She might do some sort of like offensive, like, cultural appropriation sort of thing. Like I'm trying to support, I'm trying to support their local culture, but doesn't realize that she'll do this thing that's sort of culturally insensitive appropriation. I don't know. Maybe I could see that happening.
Well, we'll have to watch and see. Our final topic, we only have a couple minutes left, is, we talked a little bit about sort of all the platforms cracking down on Alex Jones, and this is less about that. But I thought that buried somewhere in comments that President Trump made about this, he said that too many voices are being silenced by social media. And I have read complaints from a number of conservative-leaning content providers that they're finding that they're getting blocked, their pages are taken down, and just in terms of, on a minor scale, it's like page views are way down and things like that. And I think that, starting with Alex Jones, you can make a lot of cases for it. And if this seems to be the case, that, these various platforms, and I'm not specifically saying just, I am saying them, but it's not only Twitter and Facebook. Mm-hmm. It just seems YouTube as well. Pretty much everywhere, you're getting these complaints from people that they're being silenced or attempted to be silent. And I just, I don't know, I think that it's great when you can have differing voices that, aren't as angry about the president as as Sean Penn is.
So you're agreeing that with what he says is that too many voices are being silenced.
In principle, I agree with it, and that's what surprised me. I think that you do go down this slippery slope, a phrase I don't like, but it is appropriate when you decide that we got to shut down Alex Jones, because then you go okay, well then where's next? There's this crazy theory that somebody gave to me once that sure, nobody wants you to be able to smoke in a restaurant unless you're a smoker. It's terrible. And, I remember people smoking in restaurants and in bars, and it was just awful. But once you go after that, you start to then go down to, well, and then we're going to cut out trans fats. There's legislation right now in California that's saying that you won't be able to give juice or soda to your kids. Not saying that you should give soda to your kids, but I don't know that the government should decide those things. So once you start down these roads, you definitely, there has to be a point where it's like, why are you so involved in my life? I'm not a libertarian, but one of the things that they say is like, why does government want to be this involved? I don't know. But so back to the bigger picture, I feel like, tell me if you agree, should people be able to have differing opinions, or should we just all agree and then, basically you'll get shut down if you don't agree?
I would like
And if you don't agree with me, Marissa cut off her mic. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't agree because of the fact that I think we have actually been fair and diplomatic about who we have silenced, because of the fact that it so far, and I am confident that this is going to be the case moving forward, is that nobody has been removed by just saying Trump is right, I agree with what he says, libtards are wrong, sensitive snowflakes who are going to ruin this country. Those people are fine. You're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to call people names. What you're not entitled to do, and this is like the analogy you made with smoking in restaurants, is that smoking was taken out of restaurants because it's harmful to secondhand people around. It's harmful to the health of those around it. And so that's why it's not just for the simple inconvenience of it. So once somebody makes violent commentary, threats, that's when things start getting taken down. And also, as Chelsea said when we talked about Alex Jones, and I've used this several times in conversations with people, is that Facebook does not care what Alex Jones says. They let him go so that they can't be included in the lawsuit from the victims of Sandy Hook who are suing Alex Jones. And this way they can't also, hold Facebook liable for that. Facebook is just looking out for its own best interests. So,
as any business would, I mean, what it really comes down to. Well, I think
Zuckerberg ain't he sweet, ain't he a peach?
Yeah, well, I don't know if Eduardo Severin feels that way, but
we don't have to worry until there is an instance of somebody being removed that does not violate terms of service. They're not threatening somebody. They're not inciting violence. They're removed just because I don't like what you're saying. That's when we have to worry, and that's not happening, and I don't see that happening.
Well, as always, we will keep an extra eye on that, and it is. I feel like it's something that we'll continue to follow in the weeks ahead. Tamra, thank you for having a lovely conversation. Just the two of us over some. Well, I was going to say coffee, but it's water.
We should have used the song "Just the Two of Us."
Well, it'll probably happen again, but not next week because I believe we're going to have 5 people here. But you know what? Every time I think that, there always ends up being one person who falls out. But Scott, Chelsea should be back, and I think Brooke will be able to join us. So we'll see everybody then. Tamra, where do people find you?
Find me at www.tamrabrown.com.
And you can find me at ChristianDMZ. And a little bit later tonight, I'll be on the Better Call Saul after show right here on AfterBuzz. Thanks, everybody. And thank you, Marissa. That's right.
Yay. Aww.
And on that note, we'll see everybody next Monday. That'll be our last Monday. We'll be back to Tuesdays in September. But see everybody then. Thanks.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.